Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob. Tonight, I have one of my favorite guests of all time. I've been doing the show 29 and a half years, and when I need a good guest, somebody that really knows about life and knows about Rhode Island and knows about the world, I call my buddy, Reginald Centracchio, the former Adj.General of the Rhode Island National Guard and a very good friend of mine. How you doing, Reg?
I'm doing good. I was a little disappointed. You said one of your best friends. Who's the other one?
I don't know. I just had to throw that out there to cover it. Yeah.
Oh, with you. Good to be here.
So, how many times you been on the show?
Let's see. Counting this time, probably 1,502.
A lot of times, right? A lot of times.
Yeah.
And you're still doing that Channel 12. You're doing the segment on Channel 12.
Still they're military analysts.
Yeah.
In fact, they did last night with the Ukraine scenario.
And I was going to talk about that.
About that too.
But yeah, and I had you ahead of them. I had you fitted in ahead of them, but they got you before I got you over here.
Well, I am exclusive to them,
Yeah,
except
no,
for you.
Except for me, right? So what's going on with Ukraine? What do you think's going to happen?
I don't know. I have mixed emotions. I think there's still some possibility for a resolution diplomatically. But as each day goes by, I have more of a tendency to think we'll probably be there militarily.
Well, because don't you think Putin's got both feet in there now? I mean, he's got 130,000 troops in there.
Keep in mind now, Putin is a smart guy. He was the head of the KGB.
Right.
He knows exactly what's going on. He knows the sensitivity of Ukraine and the possibility that Ukraine could join NATO.
NATO, right.
And
that's what he fears,
That's his
right?
biggest nightmare.
Right.
And you don't know. And there's also some possibility that at least they claim that he's attempting to put in a puppet government that would be pro-Russian.
Right.
And
Which he
maybe
had
not.
there before.
Yeah, right. And but he went into Crimea, and everybody turned their heads. the
I
other
was
way.
shocked at that. Now, who was the president when he went into Crimea?
I'm pretty sure it was. It might have been Trump. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, because that wasn't. It was.
It wasn't
more
that
than a year
long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, the problem is you don't know. I mean, we know what Putin's thinking. We don't know what his whole plan is because he's a smart enough man not to share it like we do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we tell everybody. Yeah.
But he doesn't share it. And
Well, he has nobody to have to answer to either.
Well, that's true. You know, he has the rest of the allegedly the people that want to back Russia, and the reason for this whole thing has to do with not having ability to negotiate the country right around him. That's right on his doorstep.
What used to be part of the USSR.
They were part of the USSR, and they broke away when the USSR dissolved. They also had a tremendous inventory of nuclear weapons. I'm not sure where those went.
Right.
Most of the countries in the Soviet Union did too. And there's no real good inventory as to what happened to all those nuclear weapons. So I'm not suggesting that the Ukraine still has them, but nobody can rule that out either.
But if they do, and they attack, and they will be so grossly outnumbered that they may have to rely on nuclear weapons.
Well, that's a real possibility. Whether they'll do it or not, I don't know, because they would be met with equal devastation.
Right.
So I don't think you'll see the nuclear positioning put into this scenario. Certainly not. I hope not. We were in the same boat with Korea, not Korea, but with Cuba. You know,
Right.
with the Cuban invasion.
The missile crisis. Yeah.
They knew that had it gone beyond what it did, there would be a nuclear exchange.
Yeah, but
And, nobody would
that
want.
time we had a president with a lot more balls in plain English.
Yeah.
In fact, it wasn't even the president, by the way. It was the president's brother that had the guts there.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a real blink your eye kind of thing. On the other hand, you know, we didn't get out of there lily white, so to speak.
Right.
We gave away some missile bases in that region around Russia. And we said, we take our missiles out of there if you take your missiles out of Cuba. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't just, you know, you do this or I'm going to do this.
Right.
So there was an exchange.
A give and take, so to
Yeah,
speak.
but at the same time, you know, the technology we have today, doesn't require you to be in a close proximity of your potential
Right.
target.
Right.
We can do it from here. In fact, those drones that are flying over Ukraine and perhaps at the time Afghanistan and Iraq, those drones are being flown
From the Midwest, right?
that's correct, from Nebraska
Missouri or
and-
something? Yeah, yeah.
These kids, 18, 19 years old, sitting behind a video screen.
Yeah, well, it's a video game to them.
So the consequences of proximity has little today to do today.
Well, add to that scenario, just again today, or yesterday, and they showed it today, North Korea just launched another missile.
Yeah, they just launched 5 in the last several weeks. All have the possibility of, a medium range, perhaps.
Right. You think they could hit the U.S.? Probably California, maybe,
Well,
right?
They also have submarines. Whether they have proven or they have a collaborate with somebody else,
Right.
they can. They
You
don't
think
need
they have
to-
nuclear-powered submarines? North Korea?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But they probably would have the ability to launch something from a ship.
Right, right.
Whether it be a submarine or something else.
Well, that's what makes the submarine so much more valuable, because they can go anywhere and I guess,
Yeah.
not be detected.
But I think if I were in position to make the decision, if North Korea launched a test ICBM, I'd shoot it down,
Right,
because that's the only way you're going to get their attention. Otherwise, if you let them keep the development, it'll continue to grow, and it'll get to the point where you can't do anything except receive them as they launch them.
right.
So it's
But why haven't they shot them down?
because they've done it within the realm of understanding they need to develop missiles, and we're letting them do that. China is behind that, and if China says don't do it, North Korea, they won't do it.
Right.
So you know darn well that there's something there. So they're doing it in the face of self-defense, and if you put it in that position, saying, okay, it's self-defense for North Korea, but if they develop an ICBM, that's not self-defense.
Right.
It's something
That's a
totally
missile that could
different.
reach us.
Could reach us.
Right.
So
Now, they
those are
claim to have missiles that can go, what, 17,000 miles an hour or some ridiculous amount?
They have a hyperspeed that we wouldn't be able to detect anyway until it's too late. So,
Right, wouldn't be able to shoot it down.
no, we don't have the capability to do that yet. At least as we
As we
understand
know,
it.
as we know, right? Just like back in the day when they created or built that, which is still the fastest aircraft in the world, the SR-71,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The spy
That's
plane.
the fastest, but that was a pretty fast. I think the biggest thing is,
I climbed
they
in one of
haven't
them, you know.
developed-
There's one of them in Huntsville, Alabama.
is that right?
Yeah.
They haven't developed a system yet where they can bring a nuclear warhead into the atmosphere and then back in.
Back, really?
Without obvious destruction of the warhead itself.
You mean, do you mean because it gets out of the atmosphere, that it would blow up because of the heat?
The atmosphere, you get
The heat.
It heats up and you get a heat shield and so on and so
Right,
forth.
so they got to keep it below the atmosphere.
Yeah, so it doesn't burn up when it comes in. So I'm not sure that they've developed that yet or not. So probably the United States has, and most likely Russia has, and China has. And you don't want another country to be in there with that capability. And maybe we won't get to see that. I hope not.
Well, we got two scary guys out there. Putin's one, and even more scary is the guy from North Korea, right?
Yeah, the Rocket Man.
The Rocket Man, yeah. Well, we sent out Dennis Rodman over there, be all set,
Yeah.
right? Just send him over there to handle
There
the
were
Rocket
some strange times we're going through right now. It is. No matter how you look at it diplomatically, socially, all of the things that we took for granted even 5 or 6 years ago seem to be just dwindling away. And we don't understand each other. Even in this country, we don't understand each other.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, we fight each other because you may believe something I don't believe, and
Right.
vice versa.
There's no more compromise
No,
in this country now. There's no more. I consider myself a moderate,
Yeah.
and there's no more of it. I mean, we're a dying breed. You're either to the left or to the right.
Yeah, and it used to be where the center left, center right, or radical left and right, you had something, the parties would dictate whatever the platforms were, those parties. Those would be the issues. And then it evolved from that to the issue itself. And then you started doing battle about issue. But there was always room for compromise.
And yeah,
Now
negotiations.
it has nothing to do with any of that. It
No.
has to do with personality.
There's a hatred.
And,
There's
yeah,
such a
If
hatred.
you don't agree with what I agree, I believe, and vice versa, we're enemies. And
Yeah.
that was never the intent of the Constitution.
Nope.
And the
And it was
Republic.
never the way of politics as I've known it most of my life.
Yeah.
There was always room for compromise. In fact, Biden himself was a middle of the road guy, right?
Yeah.
When he ran, he considered himself he wasn't a leftist. He was supposedly.
not sure that was
well, he
true
said
when
he
he
was.
ran.
He said he was more of the middle of the road when he ran. And before that, he was supposedly a moderate, a Kennedy type moderate, right? He came up in the Kennedy eras.
Well, I think he's having problems with his own party right now.
Oh, he's having problems with everything. Did you see what he said last night?
No.
The Fox reporter
Oh,
walked
yeah,
out of the
I
room.
didn't hear that. Somebody
He
said
goes,
that.
"What an ass!
Really?
What an ass he is," or something like that. Yeah. Oh, in fact, I have it. I have it on the. I should show this. Yeah, he said, I couldn't believe he said that, and the difference is and I'm not a Trump guy, but the difference is if Trump said it, they'd be talking about it forever.
Yeah.
Right? They'd be saying, "Look, can you imagine what this idiot said?" They'd be talking about it constantly, but because the media is definitely controlled by the left.
And now, I'll tell you, that wasn't on his script. That was.
Oh, no. But I don't know why he couldn't know that it was going to be aired, because he was had a mic right in front of him.
Yeah.
And the guy just got up, and the reporters were just being ushered out of the room. The reporter had mentioned something about the economy when he's talking about, serious stuff like this. And he said, "What an ass," or something like that. Yeah. Well, I got the factual thing if I can find it.
I'll tell you, once again, you get you diminish the whole position of the presidency when you have that kind of an exchange.
Oh, you can't talk like the president can't talk like that.
I don't care who you are, what you are. You have to be presidential. And if you depart from that, and President Trump wasn't the best individual in the world to be able to
Oh
observe
God,
that.
yeah.
But at the same time, if you look at other presidents, it gradually got to that point where it became personal, and that's not good.
Right, and that's the problem with the presidency now. Well, he broke it. He shocked me that he would say a thing like that. That absolutely shocked me that he would say something like that. I can't find the damn thing.
So look for it later. What else you got? What do you got on your mind?
Well, I didn't know you were already on TV last night talking about this issue, but I wanted to talk about. I want to see what would happen if he does cross into with us. What would happen with us?
That's another thing that bothered me the other day, that the president said, if there's which is a change of 180, or if there's a slight incursion,
yes,
we're not going to react to that.
Well, then his press secretary came out later and said, "Oh no, he didn't mean that,"
Yeah,
which is ridiculous
right.
because what he said is what he said.
That's like being a little bit pregnant. Either you are or you
Right,
aren't.
right.
You know, so
yeah.
if you have an incursion, that is, aggression, and it should be met with the same amount of force that you would do otherwise.
I found it.
You did.
Can you get a shot of this? What he called him, a stupid son of a bitch, is what he called him. You ready? Can you get this? Tell me when you can get this. I'll play this.
Can you reach it that far?
Yeah, she can get it over here. Yeah, see? What the hell is it? Now I lost it.
Right, this good one.
Oh, hang in there. We've gone this far with it. We might as well find it. Hey, now I lost it.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. Damn. I'll try to find it again. Anyway, stupid son of a bitch is what he called him. That was a shock for the President of the United States to make a statement like that. That was crazy. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, as bad as Trump's dialogue was from time to time, I don't think he ever used any profanity as far as.
Well, he might have. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know if they picked it up. So, but as you point out, if he did, that would be on the front page.
But yeah, exactly. But you know, this guy, right? The whole media, they were leaving the room, but he had to realize that he was on. Here it is again. Now I found it again.
His testy response as reporters walked out. It's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Did you hear it?
yeah.
You get it? What a stupid son of a bitch. He's talking about the Fox reporter is what
Yeah,
he
yeah,
said that to. Because the guy asked him a question that wasn't part of what he was talking
Yeah.
about.
In fact, we talked about that the other day. You know, how do you run a news conference? Normally, it's several reporters that get selected to ask the question.
Right.
But they're given the question to begin with. You just
Right,
don't,
right,
you
yeah.
just don't ask them something off the top of your head. So you wonder from time to time, if somebody deviates, as apparently that kid did,
Right.
what's going to be the response? Do you know what the response is?
Yeah, but usually you don't do it that direct.
right.
Well, that's what makes some reporters, though. A perfect example of that is Dan Rather.
Yeah.
When Nixon was president, Dan Rather was a reporter from Dallas, Texas. And he just drilled him. I mean, he asked him, like you said, they give him the questions ahead of time.
Yeah.
And he deviated from it, and he pissed them off, is what he did. And he riled them up so much that he got notoriety. And then he became a national reporter after that. He went from the Dallas station to the New York CBS station after that, because of that.
And you know, and once again, that leads us to another part of the conversation. There used to be a day when news was news, regardless of whether you went to CBS, NBC, ABC.
Oh, yeah,
You
oh,
got
yeah.
the news. Unfortunately,
It's all
in my
opinion.
opinion, it has much to do with opinion today. And there's only one station, I guess, recently that proclaimed they're not.
Right.
That's One News or Newsy.
Well, you got to pay for that station. I know I do. If I don't get it, but
No,
I don't.
I don't have to pay for that. Anyway, the bottom line is, you know, if you say something that somebody else said, that's news.
Right.
If you say, well, but I think he meant,
Right.
or let me clarify what he said,
Right, right.
that's not news. That's giving your opinion
Exactly.
as to what somebody else
Which
said.
is what they're all doing now.
Yeah, then that's not good.
It's terrible.
And if you
It's
look
terrible.
at, you know, one network to another, they're all the same.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they look at one point and they give their opinion. They call it analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, but they should do it differently. If they got somebody give an analysis, years ago, what they used to do, they'd have the
Yeah.
Chet Huntley,
Now, you
David
see-
Brinkley,
now you
whatever.
see that this is what I do when I work
Right,
at Channel 12.
right.
They ask me to give them an analysis.
Right.
I don't put my personal opinion
Right.
into it. I think if this happens, I think this is going to happen. But I don't say, I think that should happen because that's wrong. That's totally different stuff.
Right.
And then unfortunately, that's what we're seeing in most of the major networks today.
Well, look at, you got Fox on one side, and you got MSNBC and CNN on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And they're battling. They're both, but ironically, Fox, which I don't watch, and I don't watch the other one either, because I don't like that, exactly what you're saying. They're trying to rile people up on their side, or on their side. And I purposely don't watch either one of the stations. I watch the regular stations, which are not much better anyway. But do you know that Fox draws more of an audience than both of them together?
If you can have the answer to that on one basic premise. Follow the money. If you look at who produces the networks and those shows, look at the sponsors. And if you look at the sponsors, you'll probably find out that they share that particular philosophy.
Oh, no doubt.
Either ultra-left or ultra-right.
Right.
The sponsors really determine who's going to stay on the air, and consequently, who buys the product will determine
Right.
whether the show stays on the air or not.
Right.
And so that's what we are. It all has to do, no matter how you cut it.
It's all
it goes
about
back
the
to
money.
And that's an age-old.
I have a friend of mine I call Mr. Thrifty because he's so money-oriented, more so than any person I know, and he says that all the time, and he's not wrong.
Yeah,
You follow the money, exactly what you just said.
exactly.
It's when now the Koch brothers support Fox News, right? And then you got the left wingers, with all the money, the billionaires that support CNN and MSNBC.
You know what that amazes me though is apparently when you look at the, and I hope you don't take me out of context or anybody that's watching take me out of context. My impression and my interpretation of what's going on, when you talk about progressives, the word progressive means that you want to get more
Move
liberal
forward.
and move forward and,
Right.
and make the society better. But it also, with it, means you're giving a lot of stuff away
Oh, God. yeah.
free without any consideration for earning it.
Right.
So that's leading us so closer and closer to
Socialism.
socialism. And eventually, God forbid, but someday we'll wake up, I hope not this generation or 100 generations after us, they'll wake up and say what happened. Well, when you look at it from that point of view,
Right.
you look at all the alleged liberals with all the big yachts and the planes and stuff, they don't apparently realize that if the country changes its way of how we do business, their big yacht is
They're gonna
not
lose them
be-
all.
It's gonna be gone,
Yeah,
as well as their plane, and all the things they enjoy.
right.
Because they changed the government, you change all that is there to protect those that wanted to take a risk to make a lot of money. So when you say, oh, these rich guys don't deserve all that money, you had the same opportunity if you wanted it.
Right.
You could have done the same thing, taken the biggest risk.
Right.
And how many, another thing that I've come to look at too is when you look at charities, there's more charity that's given by these big companies, both sides, than the income tax brings in when you pay more on your taxes than anybody else. So people say they should be paying more tax than I do. The same people are giving more money away in charity than they are paying taxes.
Right.
But nobody looks at that.
Well, not all of them, but many of them.
Well, more than
Right,
not.
right.
Yeah.
The guy that runs from Microsoft, right? Didn't he donate all his money? 95% of his money goes to
I don't know, but you find out some of the big hitters do a lot of that.
Right.
And they just give it to charities and they give it to the society to make better for people. But they don't give it away because the people think they're entitled to it. They give it because
Right.
they think they're going to be doing some good in the society.
Well, ironically, that's why one of the reasons I stopped doing the Toys for Tots, because I started noticing, or I noticed for years anyway, that the same people would come, the gimme, gimme, gimme philosophy, and many of these people didn't deserve it. And I almost, and I'm saying this first time here, I almost started a different type of Toys for Tots for the working stiff. Because those are the people that get shortchanged, the people that work. And maybe they have to work 2 jobs because they got 3 kids at home, and they're not getting any free ride, they're not getting welfare, they're not getting free medical, they're paying for everything out of pocket, and they're grinding. And they're not the ones that got their hands out. They've got too much pride, I guess, or whatever.
That's a sticky wicket. How do you tell the difference?
Right, right.
You know, there are legitimate people out there that just can't work, and
Exactly.
and, you know, they are certainly.
Well, that's
enjoy that.
people. That's people that are handicapped, people that just can't make it by, just don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
But when you see all these young people that just don't want to work, I see them every day. They just hang around, do nothing all day.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem that we're seeing right here in Rhode Island with all of the violence that's taking place. These kids are on the street.
Yep.
They have nothing.
Nothing to do.
Yeah, and they have lost respect for each other, certainly for the respect for human life.
I was just going to say that.
They just
Exactly.
shoot each other, just to talk to each other. And that's what you're seeing out there, in gangs. And, you know, and as I said this so many times before, you probably heard me say it as many times as I've been on your show before. If the United States went back to a draft, female and male,
Right.
I guarantee you would see less violence, you'd see more respect, you'd see discipline, and you'd see a lot of these drug problems disappear. Gangs would disappear.
Right.
Because these kids join the gangs because they want to belong to
Something. Exactly.
And not
put
necessarily
them in
a
the
gang.
Army or the Navy or
Right.
the
So
Marines
if you
or the Air
offer them
Force.
something, you say, come on, join us, you're going to do that.
Right.
But you got to kill somebody to get membership.
Right.
That's really sick. but that's exactly where we are.
Yes, yeah, of course.
So I do believe that there should be some kind of national conscription, not necessarily all military, because not everyone's fit to be in the military, but something to serve the country for 2 years, and then
Yeah.
go to college.
The youth corps or something,
Yeah.
something
Well,
like
youth
that,
corps is
yeah.
a good example, you know. And you see these kids come out of college with a 4-year degree instead of 6
Right.
and 7, with learning how to make baskets. You know, today, there's a definite need for the trades.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's no emphasis on that.
Nope.
You know, and
Nope.
I remember when I was the Adj.General, we had the education program, and everybody was insisting, not in the God, but the General Assembly, you have to have a 4-year degree in order to qualify for this. That's a bunch of
It is a bunch of
bull.
bull.
You need people who want to be plumbers,
Hands-on,
electricians,
hands-on.
all the things that we just take for
Right,
granted
right.
and are going by the wayside.
Yeah.
So if you really want to be well off later on in life, you need to get a trade and apply that to our
A
society.
plumber, electrician, a carpenter, I mean,
Yeah.
any one of those trades,
Yeah.
they make big money
You do.
nowadays.
And you look at a kid who just graduated, say even a 5-year college, and what did he get out of it? A degree that he can't use,
Right,
and a $400,000 and $500,000 bill
yeah,
to
yeah.
pay. So, big difference.
Whereas a kid going into the trades may not even cost him anything. He becomes
You get an apprentice.
apprenticeship.
Yeah, exactly.
And they get paid for being an apprentice. They don't get paid a lot of money, but they get paid. So instead of paying $50,000 a year tuition, they're getting paid $30,000 a year to be working for somebody.
Yeah. And see, and that's where now we're going to get into a different subject right now, unions. Unions are noted to have those kinds of programs.
Right.
You can go in, be an apprentice, become a member of the union, and you get jobs, you get an education.
Right.
At the same time,
Plus you
you're
get the
making
union
money.
benefits.
Yeah, and those are the slices of our society that should be taken into our general application on how to educate kids, not necessarily get a 4-year degree
Right.
with little to do after you get the degree, but something you can actually make money with and satisfy the needs of the society.
And everybody isn't educated or doesn't have the smarts
Yeah.
to just learn things in college, maybe a liberal arts course or whatever. But they do have the hands-on, they can be a mechanic. Car mechanics make
Yeah.
big money
I
nowadays.
used to ask the same question. My kids used to ask me, why do I have to take calculus? What am I going to do with that? Why do I have to take
Right.
geometry? What do I
Yep.
have to do all these mathematical things I'm never going to use?
History of Western civilization,
yeah,
one of the toughest courses in college.
Yeah, so you say, what are you going to do? It doesn't do you much good except to get you to think and to use your
Right.
head.
Yeah, well, that's the
And
upside.
then you develop that, and you're able to
Right.
take that particular thing you have, that ability, and apply it to real life. That's the purpose of it all.
Right.
You're not going to use calculus
No.
somewhere.
No, you're better off teaching them how to do a bank account, how to
Exactly. And
handle
those
a
things are
budget.
going too.
Yeah.
Years ago, I forgot the name of the program, but we used to bring in kids from the suburbs, and not so much the suburbs, but the urban areas.
Right.
And they didn't even know how to make out a check.
Right.
They didn't know how to look at a receipt and tell the difference between what you bought and the taxes on it. They didn't know any of that, and we would teach them. And we'd give them, say, okay, on the front end, we'd have a team, say 4 people here, 4 people there, and we'd say, we're going to give you $5,000 and make
Right.
believe
Start a
money.
business like,
Yeah.
right?
And here are the rules, here are the laws and so forth. Now, at the end of this 2 or 3 week thing that we did, you're going to come back to us and tell us how much you're worth today by how you spent the money, how you
Right.
invested it, and so on and so forth. And it was amazing that these kids would come back and they give a presentation that you say, I didn't even know they knew how to talk like that. And it was amazing just to get those basic
Exactly.
ideas in their heads and how to do little things that we just take for granted. So and at the same time, I understand, I'm not sure of this, but I understand some schools aren't even teaching cursive writing anymore.
No, I know it.
They're not
We used to
teaching-
call it penmanship.
Yeah, they're not even teaching math at the basic
Right,
level.
right.
And because the
Or
answer is-
housekeeping, or home, they used to have a class in high school.
home economics.
Home
Yeah,
economics
yeah,
they
yeah.
had in college.
That's
And
gone.
and they had woodworking shop. and
Yeah.
They had all the physical
Yeah.
shops they
Yeah,
had.
they had mechanical training too. I remember.
Right, working
you
on
know,
cars.
You get looked at as if you're going to mechanical training, we're going to college. And that was the philosophy back in
Right,
the 50s
right,
and
yeah.
60s.
Yeah, but the guy that's a mechanic is making more money
He's
than the
the
kid that
guy-
went to college.
He's got the big companies now.
Yeah,
And the kid that went to college is paid a $450,000
working the
bill.
garbage truck. I've seen that, by the way.
Is that right?
I saw a guy one time, he graduated from college, and I knew him, and he's working. I said, what the hell are you doing on the garbage truck? He said, I can't get a job. I said, why not? You went to college. He goes, I majored in art appreciation and English literature. What the hell is he going to do with that? Somebody led him down the wrong path. You know, somebody told him the wrong thing to do when his advisor in school or something.
I heard something similar, so this is not coming out of me, it's something I heard. It says, yeah, but you don't look at the benefits. It's all you can eat. I didn't come up with that.
But anyway, I mean, I seen these kids today. I've had kids work for me when I was rebuilding my house. I totally gutted my house and redid it. Over the time I was doing that, I must have hired 15 different guys in their 20s and 30s. And there wasn't two of them that could do almost any, couldn't do almost anything, couldn't do nothing. They just didn't know how to use a level. They didn't know how to use a tape measure. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that they could have learned in high school if they had still had the trades in high schools. But the only place you get that is you go to Davies in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's still around.
Oh, Davies is a big school. Yeah, Davies does well.
Yeah, you don't hear much about them, but they're perfect example of what we're talking about.
Right, that started in Pawtucket, Davies. Okay,
right?
yeah, started Volk. They used to call it Volk,
Yeah.
and then they moved to Smithfield. I think it's in Smithfield. And
I
they
think
call
it
it
was, yeah.
Davies Volk Vocational. But that started right on Broadway in Pawtucket, next to Joseph Jenks Junior High School.
And same thing, you know, as technology evolves, so does your inability to use it. And I say that to make sure we understand what I'm saying. You know, when I was a kid, I could take a Model A apart with a wrench and a screwdriver.
A
and
Model
pair
A,
of
huh? You're that old, huh?
pliers. I still do it now. But you look at today's vehicles,
Oh,
I
God,
don't have
forget
the
about it.
slightest idea what's under that hood.
That's why I stopped working on cars. I mean, I can change brakes still today. That's about it. There's not many things you can do to a car today.
Yeah.
Do you know, I drive a Toyota Camry, and you can't find a dipstick to check the transmission fluid.
Really?
They don't have one.
How do you check it?
You don't. You got to bring it to a garage. They got to put it on a lift, and they take a bolt out of the transmission, and they put their finger in it. Can you imagine that?
Well,
Now,
that's
how smart are the engineers to do something like that?
It's like the Model T now. We're going back a few years.
Yeah.
I have several Model Ts. The way you check the oil in that is there are two spigots on the bottom of the transmission. It's called the a planetarium transmission, where you had 3 pedals. But to check the oil, you had to get under it. You could get under it at the time because it was pretty high off the ground.
Right.
And there were 2 spigots, one at the top and one at the bottom. And you'd start at the top and open it. If any oil dropped out, you're good to go. If you drop the bottom and no oil comes out, you got to add oil. So you close that one, close the top, and pour some oil in.
Really?
And that was the way you
That's
checked
how
the
you
oil.
check the oil in the
Yeah.
car?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that too. I had a car one time. It was a Ford, a big Ford, Explorer, or the big one. And I went to check the oil one time. I was buying and selling cars. I went to check the oil. I couldn't find the dipstick. So I pulled in this gas station, and I see a guy pull in with a similar car. I said, hey, buddy, can you give me a hand? Where's the dipstick on this car? He goes, it doesn't have one. Same thing.
Yeah.
You've got to get under the car. They do that on purpose, so you have to go to a gas station or a service shop. And
Well,
have them.
they probably took the technology out of the old rear ends. You know,
Right.
that's what you do. Take the plug out.
Right.
And stick your finger in.
90 weight grease.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If you could feel it, then it's okay. You put the plug
Yeah.
back in. Yeah.
Well, that's what they're
I
doing now with
think that's-
transmissions.
They probably still do the same thing.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
in
not
rear
sure it's a
ends.
transmission.
Well, actually, most cars don't have rear ends
front
like
end,
that
yeah.
because they're front-wheel drive. They don't have the drive shaft in the rear end anymore. Most American made car, almost any car, almost all cars are, well, except for like the Mustang and stuff, and the Camaro.
Tell you, one of the nicest cars I've had through my, I bet you if I counted my number of cars I had, it's quite large, but I had a hybrid Prius. That was a nice car.
Did you like that?
I did. I get maybe 53 miles a gallon on it.
Really?
And but the difference was, sometimes you're using the engine, which is charging the electrical aspects of it.
Right.
But the most time you're using the engine, the electrical part, to actually do the motivation of the car. And that was a lot of fun. And
Really?
the problem is when you stop, you hear nothing. So you didn't know.
You don't even know if you're running.
Right, until you hit the accelerator again. That was a little concerning, until you got used to it.
Well, I was thinking about buying a hybrid Toyota Camry. That's what I'm thinking about buying.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a good deal. Hybrids are good. I think I would probably do that again, but I would probably stay away from all electric right now.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was set on buying a Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I went down to Warwick to test drive a Tesla. They actually let me take it out by myself.
Where are you gonna get the money?
Huh? All the money I make on this show.
That's it.
Yeah, right. No, I really was. I was going to buy, hey, I figure it's my last car, Last car for, probably. I'd have it for 10 or 15 years, and I probably wouldn't be able to drive anymore. But that's why I said, screw it, I'm going to buy myself a nice car, right? So I drove the thing. You've never seen anything so fast in your life, They're ridiculously fast.
Because in the hybrids, you find it, I guess it's referred to as a governor still.
Right.
You can't push it down or else you burn the tires right off your wheels.
Really?
And that's probably, they've overcome that with a Tesla. Because if you hit the accelerator, you get maximum
It just
speed
goes.
right off,
It
right
goes,
off the
yeah.
bat.
That, even the SUV, 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. 0 to 60.
Wow.
Less than 5 seconds. The better model, the S, will do 0 to 60, and you can get 3.8 seconds or something. And then they have the X, 0 to 60 in 1.96 seconds. It's the fastest production vehicle in the world.
1.96 seconds?
0 to 60. You go, whoop, and you're at 60 miles an hour. 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds, that car will do.
But that brings us to another thing in reference to the poor state of condition that our infrastructure is in. Can you imagine if you had a Tesla and I
it
had
bottomed
a Tesla?
out? No.
You charge it at night. Can you imagine if you put that strain on our electrical system?
Right.
It would not support it. And so if you had,
So you're
even
thinking
now,
if
when you
everybody,
turn-
if there's
when you turn your air conditioners on in the
Right.
summertime, you get a brownout.
Right.
Or this particular thing goes down. If you had a charging device in all of the families, now I'm being facetious now, but it is a possibility, that if you had a Tesla at each family and you plug that in at night, where do you think that power is going to come from?
Right.
It's the same thing, basically, if turning your air conditioner on.
Well, the irony is they say, it's no emissions or whatever, but where did the electricity come from? How do they produce the electricity?
That's another point.
With
you know.
coal, oil, or gas, right?
Yeah, another point, I just had solar put on my house, and it's a good system.
It is. How long have you had it?
About less than a year right now. So it takes a couple of years to really get, determine how much you're making. But I'm saving money right now.
You are?
on my
Because
my
I was
electric
thinking
bill.
about doing it.
Yeah. I'll get a referral for you. Anyway, the point is that to make a solar panel, and I saw this recently on something that was on, I can't remember where I saw it. To make a solar panel, you could use fossil fuel for a year, and you wouldn't put that much
Energy?
impact on what's the natural resources that you're using to make the panel. So the money you save on a panel is, right now anyway, the technology is being used to develop that
Right.
solar panel. When they get to a point where it doesn't take so much resources to build a solar panel, it will be a lot better. So I think that they never tell you that part of the story,
Right.
you know.
Well, the other thing that troubled me about the Tesla was, do you know that the battery degrades about 10, you lose about 10% of the range every year. So they start off at 326, that's optimum. And that doesn't work in New England because you got to turn your heat on in the wintertime, and you got to have the defrosters on, which draws a lot from a battery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that. I'm saying this car's not made for New England. And the lock, so the handle push in flat with the car, and you push them and they pop out. But can you imagine if ice gets over there? You're not getting the pant.
Well, they probably heat them.
You carry a little
You
torch with
remember
it.
when they had the key?
The heated key.
Yeah, no, that's the heated key. You used to have to buy a little aerosol can.
Right.
And stick the thing in and
Yeah, spray it.
and freeze it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
those days are gone. No more keys.
But you think about this. You buy a Tesla. Some guy I saw some guy but I'm sure this is an extreme case. Some guy had a Tesla, and it was only 3 or 4 years old, and he was burning it. And they asked, he did it in a public place, and the reporter's there and everything. Why are you burning it? He goes, because the battery went, and the battery was $20,000 for the battery in the car. I mean, I've seen them, I've heard they're anywhere from 14 to 25,000.
No
depending
doubt
on
about it. Just in the Prius that I had, you're talking $8,000 to $10,000 in the Prius
For the battery.
for the battery. Yeah. And so you want to make sure that you don't run the car the maximum, especially if it's a rental. You got to make sure.
Now, how long do you have a Prius?
About 3 years or so.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good car. I liked it, but it wasn't big enough, you know.
Yeah, I drove one of them, and I didn't like it because you're confined, you're too
Well, they
close.
have-
I
they-
didn't like that.
They had different styles out now. The
Really?
one I had was okay for, maybe 4 people. But when the grandkids come along, there's no place to put them. Can't put baby seats in there. And,
Right.
So we migrated to a larger car, which is still a Toyota, which is a good car.
What'd you get? An
I got
Avalon?
I got a RAV4.
Oh, I looked at them.
Yeah.
I looked at the Rev.
They got a nice hybrid RAV4.
That's what I drove.
Yeah.
That's what I drove recently. But you know what they cost now?
About 41, 42,000.
No, they're up there, about 48,
sir.
loaded ones, like 48,000.
Yeah.
The Tesla I was looking at is 56,000. It's an extra 1,000, get this one. White is the color. But then again, white isn't a color, right? White's a primary, right?
It's all of it.
A color, any color is an extra 1,000.
Really?
Yeah. And red's 2,000 more.
You remember Henry Ford? You know what his philosophy was on cars?
No.
When he come up with a production line? He said you can have any color, providing it's black. That was
Yeah, I do
true.
remember that, yeah.
And you couldn't get a different color unless you paid,
Right.
for additional color, stuff like that.
Well, I guess Tesla figures out the same way, because if you wanted any color, it's extra, and it takes longer to get usually than the white car.
I'm not sure we're really going ahead of our technology in this whole society of ours. Technology is going pretty damn fast.
Right.
But keeping up with it and understanding it, and I get my iPhone, I get my iPad and stuff like that. The thing that bothers me more than anything is, you probably have it too. You'll get a message. Make sure you're plugged in tonight. We're going to update your
Yes,
software.
yeah.
Yeah. They do it, and the next day you go and you start to operate, and it's not the same system you were using yesterday.
Right.
So you have to learn it all over
Well,
again.
yeah, no.
And you say, I pushed that yesterday.
I just did that, actually, yeah, same thing. But it's got to be plugged in.
Right.
They won't give
Yeah.
you, they won't
But they
update
change
you.
it. They change the whole format.
Right.
So you spend a lot of time in trying to figure out the new format, which button to push. You pushed yesterday that didn't work today.
Well, my buddy with the Tesla, last week and a half ago, his Tesla shut down on him, and they couldn't figure it out. So he had to call in, and the text got, and it was just like what happens to a computer, because the car's a computer, and they had to reboot the damn car. So he could drive it. You had to get a hold of somebody who got a hold of somebody at Tesla, the home office in California, and they called them, they connected the car, however they do it. You know, when they charge it, they don't even have to you know, you don't have to carry a card or anything with you, because that car, when it's plugged in, they know whose car that is.
Yeah.
So they charge you based on that. At
Same
these
thing with
superchargers,
all your system. Do you have an internet at home?
yeah, of course,
Okay. Do you have a obviously a router?
yeah,
They know exactly who you are.
right.
You just push in your phone number or whatever you get. They know what the color of shirt you're wearing, shoes, everything.
There are people that think that way. I don't know, if, you're not one of them, are you?
I'm getting close, I'll tell you.
Because I know on the TV, you got a camera right there.
Yeah.
You know, they could check, they could tie into it, I guess, right?
You know, and I think the philosophy is to prevent war, you need to make it so expensive to develop weapon systems that nobody wants to go to war.
Right.
So if Tesla started making tanks, there'd never be a war again.
Really?
Who'd want to go to war and spend that kind of money?
Well, getting back to the war idea, they could go to war with us, cyber war.
That's exactly right, and we're starting to see that already. You know, and people say, why did different countries go to war? It's either for land,
Which is what he's looking
your
at.
economy,
Right,
or money.
Right.
That's it. There's nothing beyond that.
right.
So if you say, I can take your country over without firing a shot, could they do that? You bet your life they can do
Yep.
it. All you have to do is compromise our ability to do day-to-day business by cyber terrorism, and you can shut this country down instantly. And so could we with every other country too. But we're a world economy today, so if we hurt them, we're hurting us.
Right.
And vice versa.
You know what nobody's talking about with this Russian thing, with Ukraine? Doesn't that pipeline, the gas pipeline, natural gas pipeline from Russia that goes to France, doesn't that go through Ukraine?
I don't know, you might be right. I've heard something about that. I know that there's a direct concern by Russia that they wouldn't be able to sell natural gas
Right.
to the rest of Europe.
And the other side is France wouldn't be able to get natural gas from Russia if they shut that pipeline down.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why there was some incident that happened a few years ago that the French sided with the Russians over us, or didn't want no part of it because they were afraid to piss them off in plain English because of it. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it goes through Ukraine.
So what did I just say a minute ago? Money.
It's all about it.
It's all about money.
It's all about
You
the
know,
almighty.
You can get,
Oh, not totally. There's power too. Now, a guy like Putin is a power freak.
right, power, but that's basically the economy.
Yeah.
If you're in charge of the economy, you got power.
Right.
And whether it's a president or it's Putin or somebody else, the power base allegedly is supposed to be the people of the country in this country, and the Congress represents us.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think it's dissipated over the last
Right. Yeah.
generation or so, maybe more than that.
See, if you were younger, you could run for 2nd District U.S. Rep.
I'll do it if you finance it.
Really?
You finance it?
Maybe.
No, that's not a baby. That's the way you end conversations for political. You say, I'd like to run. Well, you should run for office.
I know it.
Good, I'll run if you
Exactly.
finance it.
You're right.
And then they said,
Both of
"Boy,
us
the
haven't
weather's
run.
kind of
but,
crappy out there today."
Yeah.
Change that conversation right away.
Yeah, both of us have run, and running without the money it just doesn't work.
And gaining the money, that used to be I hated that.
That was the worst part about it. Absolutely the worst part about it. I'd rather work somebody else's campaign
Yeah.
than run anymore.
Yeah.
Because I tried that too many times. It's not worth it.
Well, I tell you, it was an education. I'm glad I did it. It was something obviously I would never experience otherwise. But I'm not sure that the amount of effort it takes to get there is in today's age. You have to be young. You have to have a pretty good resource or financial
Absolutely.
support, and you have to have good health. And,
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
I think the only good thing so far is I got good health. The other stuff was a thought.
I ain't got none of the three. But folks, if you don't know it, both of us have run for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
And I was looking at the other day. I was looking at they had a poll done by the professor from Rick after a debate I had It was me running as an independent. The lieutenant governor at the time was Elizabeth Roberts, and the Republican was Bob Healy.
No, he was never a Republican.
Well, he got endorsed by the Republican Party.
yeah.
He ran as an independent, but like me, but he was endorsed by the Republicans. So we had a debate, the three of us, and I thought I did very well in the debate. A few days later, they have a poll, and Rapley is doing the poll, right? And he shows Elizabeth Roberts 31%, and Bob Healy 23% or whatever it was, 42% undecided. I'm looking at I'm waiting. Never mentioned me. So I called the station the next day. Actually, I called the station that night, but I didn't get a hold of anybody of importance. But I went to Channel 10 the next day. I go, how is this possible? Oh, we're so sorry. What do you mean you're so sorry? You didn't even mention me in the poll.
Yeah.
And you mean you got 42% undecided? None of that 42% was considering Bob Venturini? They didn't consider those other two candidates, right?
Yeah.
Where were they going?
Yeah.
Oh, we're so sorry that happened. But it was like a week and a half before the election. It just killed me, just wiped me out.
You know, when I ran, and Healy was running also,
Right.
as independent, as a cool moose.
Cool moves, yeah.
And I was always, and we had debates too, well, I'm going to eliminate the office.
Right.
And you just could not get the point across.
That you can't
to
do it.
jump out. You can't do it. You don't have to go, you don't have to get your money, but if you don't take your money, you don't show up, you know where the money's going to go. It's
To the
gonna go
General Assembly.
Fund.
Yeah.
And it's nobody ever really paid much attention to
Right.
that. Say, we don't need the lieutenant governor. Well, you're finding out that we do. What had just happened with Raimondo and
exactly.
Key. You do. Otherwise, you realize what kind of a situation you'd have trying to select the next lieutenant
Well,
governor.
it would, if it wasn't the lieutenant governor, it would have been the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, but it's political.
Oh,
when you get to
absolutely.
that point. And if you get, and I've always said, and perhaps you did too, the governor, lieutenant governor should be the same ticket.
No
period.
doubt. No
You know,
doubt.
there's no need to have a lieutenant governor for a different party. And I used to use the analogy that at that time, it was a pretty hot issue for the separation of government, the executive, legislature, and the judicial. And in this state, the weakest was the executive
Right.
office, because you had a governor, lieutenant governor, separate parties.
Right.
And if you
And
have
the-
one, you bring it stronger and you have a more effective government. But that didn't go across either. So,
Remember when he had Jack Voney was the lieutenant governor?
yeah,
And who was the governor at the time?
that was Alman.
Oh, right. No, that was
Oh, no, it's Carcieri.
Carcieri, yeah.
Carcieri.
Yeah, because that was two separate parties they had.
Right.
And the same thing when Almond was lieutenant governor, was governor, the lieutenant governor was a Democrat.
Yeah, it's for the most part, yeah.
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 So you're right. And that's why when McKee, he always touted the idea they should run together. When I worked for him, when he was a lieutenant governor, now that he became governor, they just, I don't know, they had a committee and they picked who the lieutenant governor was going to be, which was strange.
Yeah.
But they go together. You see them out together
Yeah.
at different times.
Yeah, and sometimes you have a tendency to agree that we don't need a lieutenant governor. If they're not of the same party, I might agree to that, you know, because what's the sense? You're
Right.
having divisiveness in the executive
Yes,
branch.
exactly, exactly, yeah.
And you're having this guy going that way and that guy going that way. When you have a governor and lieutenant governor under the same agenda, the same focus, they're supporting each other, and you can do, in my opinion, a better job.
And the lieutenant governor has the cheapest budget in the state,
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah, $1
That's
million,
it.
yeah.
That's all they got.
Yeah.
That we had 7 employees, and that's it. You got no more money to spend. You know, you got the Secretary of State has something like 62 employees. You know that?
Well.
I mean, that's crazy.
Well, you're going to do it again, right?
No, I'm not doing it again. If I was younger, I'd run for Secretary of State. I'll tell you that right
Really?
now. Because from day one, from the first time I ran, I thought they were screwing around with those ballots. Well, look at back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the speaker, who now got beat this last time, he lost the election, and then they had the absentee ballots. Guess what percent of the absentee ballots he got? 100. Is that possible?
100% of the absentee ballots?
Yeah. Is that mathematically, it is mathematically possible, but is it logical? Do you, that could happen legitimately?
Well, I don't know. The probability is pretty low.
Pretty low, yeah. I mean, even if I liked the guy and he was my candidate, if I thought, oh, he's got to win anyway, I'm going to vote for the other guy or vote for Joe Blow, just put somebody else's name down, right? Just for the hell of it, because, oh, he's got to win anyway, you know, that type of thing. Somebody's not going to vote for him. But I mean, I see it time and time again over the years. When they talk about politics, these elections can't be rigged. You better believe they can. You
know,
better
at the
believe
same
they
time,
can. I saw it at
same time, you know, I'm sure you got the same thing. Oh, I voted for you. I voted.
Oh God.
I should have won by a landslide.
Well, that's what John Chafee coined that phrase. He said, if everybody voted for me that told me they voted for me, it would have been unanimous.
Yeah.
That's what John Chafee said years ago.
It's true.
The father, John Chafee.
Amazing. And you still get people today say, hey, can you get me that job? I said, wait a minute. You know I lost, right?
Yeah. or even if you won, they probably worked for the other guy, and those people they go to the winning.
Well, I'll tell you, politics was a big lesson, and certainly an experience, but it's still the best in the world because of how much you have.
Yep.
to-
I've been involved in just about every
the
election
fact that
since
we
I was a
can-
kid.
The fact that we can criticize it in public.
Right, and not get
means it's
locked
the
up.
right kind of government. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I got to get going.
You
here.
got to go, huh?
Yeah.
You spent an hour with Bob, I think. Didn't he? Did he just about
Just
get an
about,
hour?
yeah.
You got 1 minute left?
1 minute.
We got to say goodbye? So what do you think is going to happen with Russia?
I think you're going to see it go in.
They're going to go in. I believe that too. He's amassed too many troops over there. What is he going to waste his time and effort? He'd look like a fool with his country.
Yeah.
Right? If he didn't.
If he can get the United States
To sign off on it, to say,
sign off to say they're not going to
They're not gonna be part of
join
NATO.
that's a possibility. I don't think that'll happen.
No.
But that's what that would take him away.
all right, let me
'Cause
ask
he
you
said
this
that.
question, last question. If Trump was president right now, you think Putin would be doing what he's doing?
No.
No? Why not?
Because I think he knows that there wouldn't be any option. Either you go to war or you don't. There's no negotiating here on
Well,
this issue.
that could be good or bad, though.
Well, there's reference to whether you're going to, if you're going to support NATO. You know, on the other hand, you know, Trump wasn't a big supporter of NATO. So
Right.
I'm not sure.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
But if you look at the philosophy of it, I would think that Putin would not be doing what he's doing now.
You think he'd be more afraid of Trump?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe that, too. Only because he's nuts.
There you go. You said that.
No, he'd be afraid of him because he wouldn't know how to react to him. He wouldn't know how to take him.
Yeah.
And I think he figures out Biden is a dove. Back in the days, we used to call them doves and hawks.
Yeah.
Biden's more of a dove than Trump, which is probably a good thing because
Well, yeah, it is.
we don't
At
want to go
first,
to war.
I'd rather see the thing solved diplomatically, certainly.
Right.
You know, my grandson is in the Army now.
Oh,
In fact,
God.
he's still at basic training at Fort Benning.
Get him out of there.
And so,
Get him out of there.
so I'm looking at it from a different point of view, obviously.
All right, we got to go. You did it. You did an hour. Thank you, General.
Always good to be here.
Always a pleasure.